And here we are on our second day of our trip to Jindy. The route today will take us along the Alpine Way to Buchan, and from there we make our way across to Buchan. It's a new piece of road which I had never done before, so really looking forward to that one. Then we would travel on to Orbost and up the Bonang Highway to Delegate, which was our proposed lunch stop. I got up early and had a look around Omeo. Omeo is an interesting place. It's nowadays very much a mountain biker's heaven with lots of trails in the area. And as you can see, there was a little bit of fog still around, but that should clear up very quickly. At the start of the Great Alpine Road, the landscape is very open and the land is used for grazing mainly, for cattle and sheep. Later on, you get a little bit higher up and into more forestry areas. The road follows the Tambo River all the way down to Buchan. And we'll get some nice views of the Tambo River later on in this video. Grazing stock along the highways in Australia is a common sight, and you always have to be careful because these beasts can cause a lot of damage if they get on the road and hit you. As mentioned earlier, for a fair bit the road follows the Tambo River quite closely. Here we are on the road from Buchan to Buchan. It's a road I had never travelled before, as I said, and it was interesting to see what the road was like. It had a few nice bends, but then it opened up a little bit later and was quite easy to ride. As we were coming into Buchan, I saw there was a car show going on the right, so I decided to take a loop and do a bit of filming of all the cars on display. On the way from Buchan to Orbost, we would cross the Buchan River quite a few times. This was also a road I had never done before, and a friend of mine said it can get quite tight. So, we shall see. This road also forms part of the Snowy River Trail, which we will be following up until Delegate. Shortly after leaving Buchan and the grazing area surrounding it, we were back into the forestry areas. The road became a little bit narrower and reminded me a bit of the Reefton Spur near Melbourne. But then you also had always some grazing country in between. Time for a rest and a pee, and waiting for the others to catch up. And after we all had a bit of a break, it was on we went. And it wasn't long to get to Orbost from here. The Princess Highway is slightly elevated here, as it can flood underneath. And in order to cross the Snowy River, we had to get onto the Princess Highway. From Orbost, we were going to follow the Bonang Highway, 100 kilometers of twisty road with no stops or towns in between. So we had to fill up before we headed in there. Well, there you go, the next 105 kilometers. And yes, always be careful of log trucks in these areas. Bonang starts with some nice sweeping corners, which made it easy for Gary to keep up with us. Again?
Last time we stopped and let Gary catch up, but it was different to this.
Well, there is a campground a bit further on, isn't there?
That's what I was thinking of.
At Bonang itself.
It's not sorry, close.
At Bonang itself, like, because Bonang is a little
further up.
town. It's a little bit further up, I think. Yeah.
No worries. You can let him exhausted.
So I was in the lead for a while, always looking for a campsite to stop and have a break, but there wasn't really anything coming up. So I was looking for a rest area where we could stop and have a bit of a break and wait for Gary. And as you can see, Bonang was still 42 kilometers away. Even though there were little townships here, or call them little settlements, there was no real rest area, maybe with a barbecue or something like that. You do normally find them on these roads. At the end I decided to go for the next best opportunity. Caught Fred out by surprise, I think. And when we set off again, I tried a new camera position. This one is sort of taking selfies as you ride along. As you can see, maybe, in this position you have to be careful, especially when you do a left-hander, that you don't get the camera too close to these poles. After a little while, I noticed that the camera was moving downwards. The lever was too long, and so I decided to pull it in a bit at the next best opportunity again. All done on the move, of course. Provided for a bit of a different angle now, much closer up. It's good that we took the break earlier, because even here in Bonang, there was no campsite or real rest area either. You always had to look out for wildlife, even when it was only small. This is a turn off to Buchan via McKillop's Bridge, another road I want to do one time, but with dirt colleagues. Just before getting to Delegate, we had to negotiate some larger animals again. I really like the hydration pack, as it gives you the opportunity to hydrate along the way. Finally got to where we wanted to have our lunch stop, in Delegate. Unfortunately though, we had to find out that, given it was a Sunday, everything was closed. So at the end, we decided to try our luck in Bombala, which was on our afternoon route towards Jindabyne. At the end we had only a quick stop though, because everything was closed in Bombala too, and we only had a snack at the petrol station. Before we got into Bombala, we hit the Bonang Highway, which also connects down to Victoria and ends into the Princess Highway at Cane River. The landscape as soon as you come out of the forest in Delegate is basically open fields for farming and grazing. After a little while though, we turned into the snowy riverway. across one of the wind farms you can find here occasionally. Here we also had our first glimpses of Mount Kosciuszko. There was still a little bit of snow up the top. In Delegate, you can either turn right and go to Jindabyne via Berrydale, or, as we did, stay on the Snowy Riverway and turn left and right again here. This is only the second time that we're crossing the Snowy River on our trip. The first time, of course, was when we got to Orbost. If you go the Barry Way from Jindabyne, you follow the Snowy River for quite a while. But that's dirt road, and Fred and Gary weren't keen on going that way. I went along the Barry Way a few weeks later with a GS tour group. It was a great road to ride, but you do need to have a dirt bike or an adventure bike. And then we finally got our first glimpse of Lake Jindabyne, which meant we were nearly there. We were staying at the Kookaburra Lodge. First time for me, wasn't too bad. A little bit of a walk into town, but hey, that's fine. After a long day's ride, you need to stretch your legs a little bit anyway. Well, and that was it for the day. After getting rid of our luggage, we went to the supermarket, got some beers, and had them at the lake.